Jets head coach Aaron Glenn at the post-draft press conference, quote, "We got guys that fit the brand of what we're going to be. We're very intentional about guys. We want to be a part of this organization." And it's a very, very brief quote after the draft haul, which I'm excited to dig into some of the day 3 guys a little bit more. Had no idea who the linebacker was that they drafted until they took him. And then I'll probably do some like a long form recap after I dig into some of those guys more. But at the end of this draft, one thing was pretty clear that the Jets have a type. And I think that there weren't a lot of surprises stylistically in their approach to the draft and some of these players. Because number one, they finished the offensive line. It's simple, easy to do. You have a gaping hole at right tackle. There's a top 2 tackle prospect there. You plug them in, you go directly about your day like any normal human being would do. That's it. Armand Membu, right? So prioritizing the trenches. Glenn mentioned how getting that done and squared away was like the catalyst for Detroit, going from the dregs of the NFL to becoming a playoff team. And obviously they changed quarterback and they got all kinds of new players, good coaches, all of that built into it. But from a personnel standpoint, the first piece that they got squared away was their offensive line. And they did have first round picks at left tackle and right tackle in Detroit. Don't let people tell you that it's crazy to spend first round picks on multiple premium spots. All right, it's been made up. They conjured it out of the ether. It's not real. It's a totally normal thing to do. Now, the second thing was like they were not going to draft a slow receiver. They just were not going to do it. That's why I didn't think Tedero McMillan was going to be the pick at 7 regardless. The only receivers that they had top 30 visits with were, it's all these speed guys. And once it got down to the 3rd round, Kyle Williams, who I really think would have been their guy if the Patriots didn't take him, right? Super speedy. And then they pivot to Arian Smith in the 4th round. And they just went with their board by taking Isaiah Thomas. So he had some speed. He has some drops to refine. I know Smith is already the player that you are falling on the sword to defend from any hate, or you say he should already be off the team. He's terrible. There's probably a world where he lands somewhere in the middle of that. But they were going to add an element of speed at the wide receiver position when they drafted it in this class, and that was pretty apparent. And they did that. Then Isaiah Thomas, big ass corner, right? Just like the Brandon Stevens signing. Look at the corners that Aaron Glenn had in Detroit. He was not going to draft a 5'9.5" boundary corner, right? I don't think DJ Reed, although he was a good signing for the Jets, probably Joe Douglas's best defensive signing. I don't think Aaron Glenn would have been in the market for even a free agent like that. He's got a type at corner. Now, Thomas and Sauce are probably, once Thomas is starting, by then Sauce will probably still be here. So that will probably be like the longest in terms of wingspan boundary corner duo in the NFL. And Stevens is really big as well. He's built like a safety. And then they get Tyler Barron at edge. Yeah, they weren't going to draft a 243-pound edge rusher. There was a lot of them in this draft class. They get a dude who's 6'5", long arms, 260 pounds, who at least at the collegiate level had some alignment versatility. I don't know if he's probably too small to do that in the NFL, but they're going to get a proper, well-rounded 255-plus pound edge player, and they did that. And finally, prioritizing character and culture with guys like Malachi Moore. It's just pretty apparent. Like you hear a guy like Isaiah Thomas speak, and you're like, yeah, that's how a captain talks, right? And so it's not necessarily a ringing endorsement of every single selection, right? We can pick apart the draft, right? Just like we can say why we like a pick, we can say why we don't like it. It's not that big of a deal. We're just fans. We're talking about the team. It's all good if you don't like a certain player. I would have probably preferred them dip into a historically deep defensive tackle class at some point, right? But it's pretty apparent that they had like a plan. They had a brand of player that they like at certain positions, and they stuck to it. So this is our first glimpse into what an Aaron Glenn kind of football team is starting to shape up to be. And we'll talk about soon.